Alright everybody, today we have yet another video, and earlier today Honda has released the full specs of their new 2023 HR-V. However, I do have a few issues with some of the choices that they made with this vehicle, and I'll do my best to explain it as we go along with this vehicle. However, I do want to preface that saying that Honda definitely improved the HR-V, and it's definitely going to be a very good competitor in the subcompact space, and it'll definitely sell. So let's start with that exterior. So we went over this in my previous video talking about the HR-V, but we could go over it really quickly here. So Honda has increased the width of this vehicle 2.6 inches wider, and it has a broader stance, and it has also grown by 9.4 inches. So the wheelbase is now going to be 104.5 inches long. So looking at the exterior profile, we're going to get the wide LED headlights with taillights, full LED. The grille is probably the most controversial part of this vehicle. I think it kind of looks like an emoji. It looks okay. I don't really hate it, nor do I love it. It is what it is. Overall, I would say the overall brake hole is kind of bland, which you would expect for a 100,000 unit moving vehicle like the HR-V could be at least. So let's go over some of the differences in appearance. So the LX is going to have a matte finish on the honeycomb grille and the lower front and rear bumpers. When we move on to the sport model, you're going to get a better looking vehicle overall, and it's going to be the best of the bunch. So you're going to get a better looking horizontal theme, mesh gloss black grille, a rear spoiler, chrome exhaust venture. You're also going to get 18-inch wheels on there as well. The lower portion of the rear bumper is going to be gunmetal metallic. And if we move up to the EXL, it's going to be the same grille as the LX, but this time it's going to be gloss black instead of matte. And they put some more gloss black trim over the vehicle, and you're going to get different 17-inch wheels. Moving on to the interior, it's going to share a lot of similar design elements as the Civic. So the first thing that stands out here is this new honeycomb vent design. It's kind of redone on how they did it on the Civic, and I personally think it looks a little bit better and a little bit classier with that little bar that divides up the honeycomb, and I think it looks pretty good. One of the main pieces of tech here is going to be the 7-inch half display that you can get in the Accord and the Civic. You can't get the 10-inch display that's available on the Civic, unfortunately. The 7 screen is standard, and unfortunately, you cannot get the 9-inch screen until you upgrade to the EXL, which is the top of the line. And as I said, with both the Civic and the Integra, they should make the 9-inch screen more available on those lower trim models, such as the Sport or the EX in terms of the Civic. I don't know why Honda's acting like this is the 14-inch display from the BMW, where it's just this nice high trim thing. No, it's a pretty decent 9-inch display, and you should make it available on more vehicles. And a lot of the competition comes standard with bigger screens, along with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you have to step all the way up to the 9-inch screen on the Honda just to get that functionality, which I feel like is absurd. One thing that'll make up for this is that we do get physical knobs on both the infotainment system as well as on the HVAC controls, which is going to be important to me and also a lot of people. So when you get in this vehicle, things are going to come to hand easily. You're going to be able to use this fairly easy, and there's not going to be a learning curve as there is with a lot of other vehicles. The steering wheel is going to be straight out of the Civic. I like the floating center console, which will help with storage. I also like a couple of the touches of stitching around the interior. The first example is by the gear lever, and the second example is going to be close to the honeycomb vents. And what this stitching does, it just adds a layer of an impression of quality when you look at this vehicle. And I don't think even the Integra has stitching on the dash, which is kind of sad, as I said before. But moving on, the seats look very comfortable in both the cloth variants and leather. I do like how they look more than the Civic, and they also seem to be a little more bolstered than the Civic. The lower door panels on this HR-V are designed to prevent scratches, and they've been designed in a pretty cool way, so it's a pretty good looking feature as well. But one thing I do want to point out is I do have a problem with the features, or lack thereof. So if we take a look around the world, the HRV, or this is going to be called the ZRV, as it's going to be sold in other markets, are a lot more premium than the version that we get in North America. For example, the Chinese CRV gets a 10.2-inch digital display found in the Civic Touring and the Tegra. On top of that, the other markets get the Bose stereo, a feature which was newly introduced on the Civic and was liked by a lot of journalists. And we don't get this in the United States as well. On top of that, other markets also get features such as a 10.2 infotainment display, a panoramic moonroof, vents in the rear, as well as USB ports for charging. But anyway, I don't mean to say that the HRV shouldn't have gotten every feature that I mentioned, but I do mean to say that they should have at least put every feature that is available on the Civic in this HRV, as it is now basically a Civic SUV, so why not give it Civic features? And they could have used a higher tier trim in order to accomplish this. So the HRV's cargo area behind the rear seats is going to be 24.4 cubic inches. And for reference, that's just slightly smaller than the Civic Hatches, which is going to be 24.5 inches. However, you'll find that there won't be something like a rear power tailgate, which is something that's offered on both the Corolla Cross or the Kia Seltos. But however, if you do fold those seats down, you're going to get 55.1 cubic inches of storing. For reference, this is going to be larger than the Civic hatchback at 46.2 inches. Now let's get into the performance. So we know it's going to be the same architecture as the 11th Gen Civic, of course. So we're going to get a lot of Civic features in here. So first is going to be the fully independent suspension, McPherson struts in the front, and a new multi-link in the rear. We're going to get that new 2-liter engine, 4-cylinder, producing a whopping 158 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque. And with great power comes the great cost of fuel economy. And this new HRV gets less, with 26 in the city, 32 on the highway, and 28 combined. And that's just the front-wheel drive model. And that's going to drop to 25 city, 30 highway, and 27 combined on the all-wheel drive model. And just for comparison, on the same APA cycle, the Civic sedan gets 35 mpg combined. So this takes a 7 mpg hit just from it being an SUV, really. And on top of that, we're going to get the continuous variable transmission. Honda does say they'll have improved power delivery, refinement, and engine sound, but honestly, I highly doubt it'll be that much different from a Civic. We know it's going to simulate gears. It's called Honda Step Shift technology, and I'm pretty sure it's 8 ratios. I don't really have too much comments to say about the engine and transmission combo. I mean, it's an engine, it's a transmission. You're going to need them to drive. And it's slightly better than the previous model. However, it's not great overall. It'll be pretty much gutless and lethargic. We're probably talking about a 9.5 second to 10 second 0 to 60 time, which kind of sucks in 2022, especially considering the hit of fuel economy that you get. However, this does beat up base engines like the Kona, the Seltos, but many competitors such as the Mazda CX-30, the Toyota Corolla Cross, offer more power in their base engines. On top of that, basically most competitors offer engine upgrades somewhere in the hierarchy, such as again like the CX-30, the Subaru Crosstrek, the Toyota Corolla Cross with the hybrid, and the Koreans with their 1.6 engines. So bearing those facts in mind, you would have thought that Honda would have offered the 1.5 liter engine that makes 180 horsepower somewhere in the lineup on either like an EXL trim or Touring trim. It also makes similar fuel economy. If you take a look at the Civic lineup, the 1.5 liter engine either gets equal or slightly better MPG than the 2 liter engine. On top of that, what doesn't make sense to me at all is that they're literally offering the 1.5 liter engine in other countries with this rebranded ZRV vehicle. On top of that, even some instances, the international HRV gets that 1.5 liter turbocharged engine in other countries as well. And to add insult to injury, I predict that they likely won't even offer the hybrid model from the Civic EHEV, which is going to make 181 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque. Why do I say this, you ask? It's because in this press release, they don't mention anything about the possibility of upcoming hybrid. And also, if we rewind a couple months back, Honda released a press article saying that they want to, quote, focus on increasing hybrid volume. They mentioned the 2023 Honda Accord will get a hybrid, which hasn't even been announced yet. The CR-V, which has wholly been teased at this point, will get a hybrid. The Civic will get a hybrid, but they don't even mention the HR-V. This would mean that we're likely not even going to get a hybrid for the HR-V, which is both increase the power and address the lackluster fuel economy of this vehicle, which just doesn't make sense to me. They claim that they want to increase hybrid sales, but they're only offering 3 models with a hybrid, which just doesn't make sense to me. And they could have done either the 1.5 liter turbo or the hybrid for not much more money than the base engine. Just sometimes to me it feels like Honda has the best ingredients. They have the perfect cut of meat. They have the Gordon Ramsay with the seasonings, and they just throw salt and pepper on the meat and throw it in the oven. It's going to be good, yes, but it's going to be not going to be great, maybe a little bland. And I feel like that's what they did with this vehicle.
Delicious.
Because they didn't want to cannibalize sales of the CR-V or the Civic Hatch. And they did this with other vehicles such as the Civic Si and the Integra, just not making it the best that they could be because they don't want to cannibalize the sales of each other. But rant aside, this vehicle is also going to be available with real-time all-wheel drive. And this is going to be retuned to send more power and torque to the rear wheels. You're going to get hill descent control, which will do what the name says, and it'll work from 2 to 12 miles per hour. In terms of driving mode, there's usually going to be normal, eco, and sport, but instead on the HR-V, they switched to sport with snow mode. So for those of you who live in colder climates, this is definitely going to change your life. This is going to make a huge difference in the wintertime, and there's not going to be any snow or ice that will stop you with this new snow mode on the Honda HR-V. Regarding safety, they do the front airbag that the new Civic got, which is supposed to cradle your head better in a crash, which is good. They're going to use the same single camera Honda sensing system, and I'll put up what that system includes on the screen. So let's talk pricing and packaging. So in terms of pricing, Honda actually managed to keep it somewhat reasonable. I said in my prediction video that it'll likely be $25,000 with destination, and I was actually pretty close. Also, with each price I say, you can also add $1,500 for the all-wheel drive. So the base LX will start at $24,895. If you move to the Sport, that'll be $26,895. EXL will be $28,695. As we can see here with the top trim, it doesn't really top out as much as I thought it was. I said it could top out at maybe $32,000 for like a touring with the 1.5 liter. But that's because basically the vehicle isn't as premium as I expected it would be, lacking those Civic touring features. So as a result, that's how they were able to make it cheaper. Though I feel like they should have added the 1.5 liter engine, even though that would add a slight cost, as well as maybe a touring trim, which included a bunch of the Civic features and maybe a couple of those Chinese features as well. So over the packaging, the LX is going to have a 17-inch shark gray alloy wheels, a whopping 4 speakers with a 180-watt audio system, the 7-inch screen, as well as Honda Sensing. The Sport, you're going to get the Sport appearance package. You're going to get tinted rear glass, heated front seats, a 6-speaker 180-watt system, which will sound like crap steel, but is going to be better than 4 speakers, as well as a leather-wrapped steering wheel. You're also going to get 255 R18 tires, which are thicker than the other models. Why? Even though they made no upgrades, it's because it's a sport model, and the sport model needs the most grippy tires. You're also going to get the blind spot information system with rear cross traffic alert, and I like that they put it in a bundle here opposed to other trims of the Civic, which they spread it across trims. You're also going to get remote engine start as well, which is pretty good. So the EXL, which is going to be the top of the line trim, you're going to get the 9-inch touchscreen with the volume knob. It's going to have your wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, parking sensors, nice addition, dual zone climate control, power driver seats, an 8-way speaker, 180 watts as usual. They didn't put the Bose in here, and it's going to be the same system that you can find on the Civic Sport. So they kind of cheaped out with the HRV Sport sound system as well. You are going to get leather trim seat as well as a wireless phone charger too. So it's a pretty decent package. Again, I just wish that they had another trim for extra stuff. So knowing that all that we know, I would definitely take a Civic Sport Touring Hatch over this HRV for a similar price. You get similar cargo room, you get significantly better fuel efficiency, a more powerful engine, as well as more features. I think if you're fairly knowledgeable about vehicles, it should be a no-brainer in my opinion. You do get the all-wheel drive option for this, and this may have more but be better for passengers, as well as some soft roading for dirt trails due to the ride height if you're interested in that sort of thing. But I just think the Civic Hatch is better overall. I would take two vehicles in the segment over this. One, I would take the Corolla Cross over this. The interior isn't as good as this. This is definitely better. But I think in the Corolla Cross, you can get more premium features. And you can also option some premium features on lower end models. For example, you can option the JBL sound system as well as a moonroof on the LE model. On top of that, you get some of those premium features in the sported models of the Corolla Cross as well, which is going to be the S, the SZ, and also the XSE as well, if the looks are your thing. Cargo capacity with the seats up is slightly in favor of the Honda HR-V. However, if you do decide to lower the seats, the Corolla Cross will actually win by about 10 cubic inches more than the HR-V. The base powertrain is also going to be better than the HR-V as well, and it's also going to be more efficient, which is a double win. On top of that, the Corolla Cross also offers a hybrid model, which is going to be 194 horsepower, and it's going to be all-wheel drive as well, offering both better fuel economy and also more power than the HR-V, and that's a double win in my opinion. The second vehicle I would take over this is the Mazda CX-30. I personally think that the CX-30 is better looking. It comes standard with all-wheel drive. I think in general the CX-30 is going to be a little more premium than the HR-V, and it's going to be available with a slew of more premium features, a power liftgate, a Bose stereo system. I'm pretty sure it offers a heads-up display as well. I would say the base powertrain for the CX-30 is better as well, 186 horsepower and torque. You also get the option for a 250 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque engine for the same price as a fully loaded Honda HR-V with the all-wheel drive. However, you do lose out on the practicality features with the CX-30. For example, the CX-30 will have less fuel economy than a Honda HR-V. It'll also have less cargo capacity than an HR-V, as well as seating room than the HR-V as well. So those are the things you have to give up if you buy a CX-30 over a Honda HR-V. However, in my personal case, I feel the CX-30 would be perfectly suited to my needs if it were my money. Last is the Koreans. I would take the Honda HR-V over both of the Koreans. The Koreans will be more efficient in any engine choice, either the 2-liter, which is about 147 horsepower, or the 1.6 liter engine, which is about 175 in the Kia Seltos and 195 in the Kona. The only thing about it is that the 1.6 has been known to have some issues, so that's something to watch out for. In general, I would say the tech is more superior, with bigger infotainment, bigger digital displays, premium audio systems, stuff like that. I would say the quality of the HR-V interior, the actual quality of it, is going to be better than Koreans. The HR-V is also going to be bigger and more practical than those options as well. And for that reason, I would take the HR-V over both the Hyundai Kona and the Kia Seltos. So this leads me to my final discussion point. Should they have brought the European version of the HR-V here? Because if you think about it, the subcompact space is actually pretty weak I think the European HRV would smoke a Venue, a Trailblazer, a Ford EcoSport, a Nissan Kicks, a Toyota CHR, and the Chevy Trax in basically just about every way. Looks, performance, the interior. I think the European HRV is just way better. And then they could have brought in the new ZRV, which is our HRV now, and they could have just made it a nice Civic SUV. It called it a day, and they could have sold a lot. But that's sort of my 2 cents. What do you think about that idea? Is that something that they should have done? Do you think that they nailed it with this HRV? In my conclusion, although there are many parts of the video that were more negative, I do think that the HRV, again, is a good entry into the subcompact space, and they should sell a lot of these, as they should. But I think that there's some stuff and some decisions made by Honda that could have been a little bit better, in my opinion. So yeah, tell me what you think about in the video below. Like, subscribe, and that's pretty much all from me. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace.